When the parade goes by and you feel alone, never lose hope to sorrow. You're closer than you know. Hold on when everything is shaking. Stand strong when the ground is falling through. Reach out to my hand in the darkness that's holding you. I'll be your peace in the waiting, your strength when you're broken on the floor. Hold on, and it's all worth fighting for, 'cause I will never let you go. I will never let you go. When the road is hard and your faith is shaking, never look back on the steps you're taking. You're more to me than you could ever know. Hold on when everything is shaking. Stand strong when the ground is falling through. Reach out.
Praise the King! Welcome to Believers Central World Update. Glory to God. This is Christians United Broadcasting Network. This is a really special day, guys. We've never had a guest on the show before, but we're going to have one today, and he is really something. Let me tell you about Patrick Heron. He was born in Dublin, Ireland in 1952. At age 24, he had a Saul on the road to Damascus type of epiphany while he was reading the Bible. Thus began his Christian walk. Around the mid-90s, he got interested in end-time studies. He wanted to make this information available to the ordinary man on the street and published his first book, Apocalypse Soon, in 1997, which became a bestseller in Ireland. He followed up 2 years later with the Apocalypse Generation. Then, in 2004, he published his most successful book, The Nephilim and the Pyramid of the Apocalypse. It immediately shot to #1 bestseller in the prophecy section of Amazon Books, where it remained for almost 2 years. The Nephilim is widely accepted as being a seminal work on the topic of the fallen angels of Genesis 6 and continues to receive critical acclaim. It has been translated into Korean, Spanish, Portuguese, and French. Because of the research in this book, Patrick Heron received an honorary doctorate in Christian literature from the California Pacific School of Theology. Grizzly Adams Productions have made 2 documentary films featuring Patrick Heron and his work, which have featured on dozens of TV stations across the USA. His best known of these is Apocalypse and the End Times. Patrick Heron's latest book, The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order, is another seminal and pioneering work and the first in-depth study of the man who is named 35 times in the book of Revelation as the beast from the abyss. This book will challenge widely held beliefs concerning the coming Antichrist and is set to be a controversial and revisionist volume which will explode many of the accepted facts concerning this individual. His conclusions are taken exclusively from Scripture. Patrick Heron has featured on hundreds of radio and TV stations, both in the USA and internationally. He has spoken at several international conferences, and his DVD, The Return of the Nephilim, has been widely viewed. If you'd like to translate any of his books into other languages, you can talk to him about that. He's an awesome person for us to listen to and see what he has to say. And his website is www.neph.ie if you want to visit his site. Welcome, Patrick Heron, to Believer Central World Update.
Greetings to all my believer friends in the United States of America from the Emerald Isle. Can you hear me okay here?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Oh, good. Well, I can see you okay. I don't know if you can see me as well.
Yes, we can see you. It's very nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are anxious to hear what you have to say. I really admire your work so much, sir. I've been listening to some of your work, and I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about the identity of the Antichrist. I know that there are a lot of believers out there who believe that Barack Obama is the one, but he just doesn't fit the prophetic pattern from my perspective. And I understand that you are also of the idea that the Antichrist is not going to be Barack Obama, but someone entirely different, a Nephilim. Is that correct?
Well, yes, Lisa. A couple of years ago, I was reading so much rubbish on the internet about the coming Antichrist that I decided to do a study on it. And I am a very meat and potatoes type of person. What I mean by that is I have to see something written in the Bible in black and white. It has to be plain and simple in order for me to understand it before I will take it on board or allow it. So everything I had read about the Antichrist, the vast majority of Christians believe that some human politician is going to arise on the world stage, and then he will be possessed by Satan, and this will be the Antichrist. And if it's not the present incumbent in the White House in America, then many believed it was Tony Blair or Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton or Manuel Barroso, the head of the European Union, or whoever, Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot. There's been hundreds of these guys that have been called the Antichrist, going all the way back to Nero and Caesar and Herod, etc., etc. In fact, I got several emails from one guy a couple of years ago when I started teaching and writing about this, and he was insisting that Ronnie Reagan was the Antichrist and he will appear on the stage again. So what I decided to do is make the Bible my only a fountain of truth for this particular study. So I decided to ignore everything that was being said and go back and see what the Bible says about this, which, you know, many Christians don't do that. They'd rather watch Fox News or CNN or Sky and listen to gossip going around. And perhaps some famous biblical scholar 80 years ago said that the Antichrist will come out of Europe and he'll be possessed by Satan, and they're waiting for this guy to show up. In fact, when I Googled Antichrist about 2.5 years ago, or 3 years ago maybe, there was 1.4 billion hits on Obama Antichrist. I couldn't believe it. So if you get into the Bible, Lisa, The word Antichrist only appears 5 times in Scripture. In fact, the words the Antichrist only appear twice. And these are all in the first epistle to John. But when you get into the book of Revelation, it never talks about the Antichrist at all. He has many other names, by the way. He's called the Son of Perdition, the Lawless One, the Man of Sin, he's the Small Horn in Daniel. He's got many, many different names. But in the book of Revelation, he's never called the Antichrist. But what he is called in there is the Beast. In fact, to give him his full title, he's called the Beast who ascends out of the abyss, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, the 7 heads and 10 horns are metaphors. But his name is the Beast who ascends out of the abyss. And he's called that in Revelation no less than 33 times. 33 times. But yet,
wow.
Who has ever done a study on the Beast from the abyss? Do people ever refer to the Antichrist as the Beast from the abyss? Very, very few. But my book, I believe, is the first in-depth study on this man, John the Revelator, terms the Beast who ascends out of the abyss, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And in my book, I get in and I study this guy, and I will tell you, because this is all hidden in plain sight in the book of Revelation, what his name is, where he comes from, where he is at the moment, when he will appear, what the 7 heads are, what the 10 horns represent, his possible association with the United States in prophecy, and his demise and final doom. Now, you know, when we became Christians, first, Lisa, we are described as babes in Christ, and we are told to desire the sincere milk of the word, that you may grow thereby. Well, this book is the book of steak. It's meat. It's fillet steak, in fact. And it's for mature believers who are beyond milk of the word of God. It is going to take people in right behind the veil of the apocalypse and bring them on an excursion to secrets which have been hidden for 2,000 years. But because we are in the end times now, the Lord is revealing these things. He's unveiling. The word apocalypsis, from which we get our word apocalypse in Greek, means unveiling, as in the taking away of the veil from the face so that we can see the face, or like pulling back the curtains on the stage to reveal what is behind the curtains. So, you know, you're a very beautiful looking woman. If you had a veil on your face, like perhaps one of those damsels in brightly coloured taffeta that used to dance around the harems many years ago in some sheikh's palace over in Saudi Arabia, then we couldn't see your face if you had a hat and a veil. But take away the veil, take away the hat, the scarf, and a beautiful woman is revealed. In the same way, the Lord, because we are in the end times now, is revealing his secrets and unveiling these secrets which have been hidden for 2,000 years, more or less. And at the end of the book of Daniel, when Daniel asked Gabriel, the angel, the man, it says, who appeared to him and dictated the book of Daniel to him, Daniel asked him and he said, what do these prophecies mean and when shall they come to pass? And Gabriel said to Daniel, he more or less told him to mind his own business. He said the prophecies are sealed up until the time of the end. And in the time of the end, knowledge will be increased. And because we are in the end times now, Lisa, this knowledge is being increased. Not just technological knowledge, which started maybe in the Industrial Revolution, to the point where we had trains and then automobiles and planes and cars, to the point now where I can speak to you and see you face to face live from Dublin in Ireland, and you're over there in Florida. Technological knowledge is just unbelievable. We've landed on the moon. But it's also, I believe, in the end times, this knowledge of the Word of God and these secrets which have been hidden up, and God has concealed in the book of Revelation, in figures of speech and metaphors and very colourful language, where it talks about, you know, a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. And nobody could understand it. Yet his name is written, is hidden in plain sight in Revelation chapter 9, verse 11, and nobody's ever seen it before. So these are the things that I have written about and put into this book, Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. And can I just say that one man, I have this book as an audio book and also as an e-book as well as in paperback, and I narrate it myself in the audio book. And one man sent me a message a few weeks ago on Facebook, and he's a delivery man over in the United States. He drives around delivering parcels and stuff. So he listens to audiobooks as he works. And he told me he listened to the book 9 times, and it's the best prophecy book he's ever read. And he said he's read every prophecy book in the last 20 years that's ever been written. And another man reviewed it on Amazon and said he read it 4 times in a row, twice without putting it down. So it's a page turner, it's very radical, it's very different, and no, Obama is not the Antichrist. He might be a sort of a John the Baptist in the way that Tony Blair and all the leaders of the world at the moment are sort of preparing the way for the coming of the man of sin, the son of perdition, the beast who ascends out of the abyss. But he is not him, I assure you.
Well, I really haven't felt like he was, and I agree. Your book is awesome. I'm actually just getting started on it myself, but I'm thrilled to read it, and I know that it's not going to take me long, because once I'm so interested in this type of study that once I get into it, you don't see me again until I'm finished. I've been studying since 1980s, actually 1987 myself, and I really admire your work. It's a great pleasure to have you here today, sir. Can you tell us, I've also, since we know now that Obama is not the Antichrist when we examine Scripture in depth, can you give us an idea who this Antichrist will be?
Well, yeah, well, if you get into and read the book of Revelation and Daniel and other places, Lisa, it gives you a lot of the attributes of the coming Antichrist. And he also has a sidekick, by the way, who's called the false prophet. He's described as a beast who ascends up out of the earth having 2 horns. And the Antichrist himself is described coming up out of the sea having 7 heads and 10 horns. Again, these are metaphors which are explained in Revelation chapter 17, chapter 17 and 18, very, very simply what they are. And even for years I didn't know what they were. And then I was reading Revelation 17 and 18 one day, and the Spirit came to John and he said, "Why are you wondering? I will explain to you exactly what these are." And he tells you there in plain English. But because it's such a complicated book, we've just missed it. I think our eyes have been closed, just like the 2 boys on the road to Emmaus with Jesus. Their eyes were closed until he was revealed in them. This stuff is being revealed. But let's look at some of the things it says about the Antichrist in Thessalonians in the book of Revelation. It says that he and the false prophet will deceive almost the whole world with lying signs and miracles, counterfeit signs or miracles. It says that he's going to die of a deadly head wound in Revelation 13, and that he's going to be raised up from the dead by the power of the dragon. This is a counterfeit resurrection. It says that the false prophet is going to call down fire in the sight of men. This again could be a sort of a counterfeit Pentecost, where fire came down from heaven and sat on the apostles and they spoke in tongues. It says he's going to go out and make peace between the Muslims and the Israel and the Jews. But one of the main things it says there is that he is going to deceive the whole world with his lying signs and wonders. Well, Ronnie Reagan didn't have any lying signs or wonders. Tony Blair didn't deceive the world with miracles and wonders. He didn't call fire down from people in the sight of God. So those guys don't qualify. And up to now, Barack Obama hasn't done any incredible counterfeit signs, miracles and wonders either. So let's get down to what it says when it describes him. It says he's called the beast out of the abyss. So what is the abyss? There's an actual place in Scripture called the abyss. The Greek word is abyssos. And many of your listeners will remember, Lisa, the time Jesus Christ came over the sea and landed at the area known as the Gadarenes. And there was a man there who was possessed with many, many devils. Many spirits were in him. And it said this man was so wild, he used to hang out in the tombs and he would throw himself into the fire and they would bind him with chains and he would just break the chains as if they were, you know, wet paper, and nobody could control him. And when he saw Jesus Christ, he said, "What have we to do with thee, thou Jesus, Son of the Most High God? art thou come to torment us before our time? And Jesus said to him, what is your name? And he said, our name is Legion, for we are many. And by the way, in a Roman legion at that time were 6,000 men. So there was a lot of spirits possessing this man. And it says they begged Jesus not to throw them, not to cast them into the deep. It says in the King James Version. The word for the deep there in Greek is abyssos, the abyss. Do not throw us into this place called the abyss. Then you get into 1st and 2nd Peter, and it talks about Jesus going down into the depths of the earth, into this place called the abyss, or it's called in Peter Tartarus. And Tartarus, again, in Greek and Roman mythology, was known as the abode of the dead. It's where the gods were imprisoned because they tried to rebel against Zeus, and they were banned down to this place called Tartarus, or the abyss. And we're told that Jesus himself, in his risen body, went and preached to the spirits in prison who caused the sin in the days of Noah. Right? Now that preached there doesn't mean that Jesus went down and tried to convert them. This preached here is the Greek word caruso, and it means he heralded his triumph over them. This same word would be used, for instance, of a Roman general coming back from a foreign campaign in a foreign country, where he would parade all the captives and the treasures of war before the citizens of Rome. He heralded his triumph over him. So we're told that the Messiah, in his risen body, went to these spirits who caused the sin in the days of Noah. This is very important. And he heralded his triumph over them. And he said, look, here I am, boys. I'm up from the dead. All your work has come to naught, and I'll be back. Hasta la vista, or words to that effect. So who are these spirits who caused the sin in the days of Noah? And they're locked up in this place called the abyss, or Tartarus. Well, spirits are what we call angels, Lisa. If you go and study angels, you'll find that they look like men, they dress like men, they have been mistaken as men, they eat, they drink, they get dirty feet, they have big appetites. And in Genesis chapter 6, it talks about fallen angels coming to earth, manifesting on earth, and marrying ordinary human women, and they produced these offspring, and these offspring were giants. Now, angels, as I say, a better translation would be messengers or agents. It's the Hebrew word malach and the Greek word angelos. Because when we think of the word angel, a lot of people get the picture, they get either of two pictures in their mind. They either think of some, big guy with long blonde hair and giant wings with perhaps a spotlight behind them and orchestral music in the background, or perhaps they get a mind image of a little naked cherubim with a bow and arrow going around trying to shoot people in the heart and make them fall in love. But when you get in and study the appearance of angels in the Bible, they're always called men. For instance, when the man appeared to Mary and told her she was going to bear the Messiah, another man appeared to Elizabeth. When the women went to dress the body of Jesus, it says, we saw two young men in white clothes sitting on a rock there who said, why seek ye the living among the dead? When the guys were standing in the garden, when Jesus ascended into heaven, it said two men stood by them in white clothes, which said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus which is taken up from you into heaven shall so come in like manner as you have seen him go. They are men. And they're always referred to as men. It's just that they are different type of men. There's two types of men in the Bible. There's us, human being men, flesh and blood, like you and I. And there's these other men who are of a spirit nature. We're told in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14, and also at the end of that chapter, that they are spirits. They are ministering spirits. So we don't know what spirit is. Nobody's ever taken some spirit, put it in a Bunsen burner, heated it up, or put it in a test tube, heated it up with a Bunsen burner, and figured out what spirit is. But they look like us, we look like them. And that's why it says several times in Genesis, let us make man in our image. In the image of God made he man. We look like them, they look like us. The point is, we're humans, they are gods, with a small g. And they're described as gods. Even Satan, the devil, is described as the god of this world. And they're lower than the Most High God, who is, God the Father, Jehovah. So These angels look like us, and we're told that a band of these angels fell to earth in Genesis chapter 6 verse 4, and in the book of Enoch, which fills in a lot of the blanks that were not given in scripture, it says there was 200 of these guys who fell to earth, and they're called the Nephilim. Most people think the Nephilim are the giants. I don't believe that, because the word Nephilim in Hebrew comes from the root word Nephal, which means to fall. Nephilim hence means the fallen ones, because they fell from heaven, fell from grace, and fell to earth. And these gods appeared, manifested on earth. They're supernatural, superhuman, powerful spirit beings. When all the people of the earth saw them, and there could have been as many as 20 or 30 million people on the earth by the time that these guys showed up in the days of Jared, which is about 1,000 years prior to the flood of Noah, they looked to them as supernatural, powerful beings. They were gods, and then these men, they took human women to wife, procreated with them, and produced these offspring, which were the giants. Now, this is where we get all our Greek and Roman and Egyptian mythology from, where it talks about the gods came down from heaven. They lived in Mount Olympus and Delphi. Zeus came down. He took Alcmene to wife, a mortal woman. She almost died giving birth to Hercules. This is where we get all this stuff. And all the traditions, not just in Greece and Rome and in Egypt, where we have all the gods in Egypt. And if you go to Egypt and go down the Nile and go in and look at all the temples, you'll see all these incredible pictures on the walls in there of weird-looking beings, half men, half animals, and a lot of them are just regular-looking men. In fact, in my third book, The Nephilim and the Pyramid of the Apocalypse, I have some pictures from ancient Egypt of these men, which I believe are actual fallen angels, and they look exactly like men, but they have a particular physical appendage which makes them shows that they are exactly what is described in the book of Enoch when he talked about the fallen angels. So these men came to earth 1,000 years before the flood. They infected all of the human race at that time with their DNA, with their evil, with their violence, and with their bloodshed, to such a point where God said he was sorry he had made man, and that he wanted to wipe mankind off the face of the earth because of all the violence and bloodshed and evil that was in the world. So he sent the flood. He drowned all the human race at that time. He drowned all the progeny of these fallen angels, which were the giants. But you cannot drown spirit men, because they are spirit beings. So we're told that these spirit beings are locked up in this subterranean prison, which is called in Revelation the Abyss. It's called Tartarus in Peter. And again, the only other place where you find the word Tartarus is in Homer's Iliad, in the writings of Homer, where he talks about the battles between the gods. And we're told, he tells us that these gods are locked up in Tartarus because they rebelled against Zeus. And this ties in with the Book of the Dead and the Book of the Underworld of Egyptian mythology, where we're told that, you know, the gods are locked up in the underworld, and you've got to cross the river Styx to get into them, and Hades is the keeper of the underworld, etc., etc. So a lot of these so-called ancient mythologies actually tie in with the truths of the Word of God. But the point is that these gods, let's call them gods with a small g, fallen angels, which are actually devils, to be honest with you, they're actually devils, not demons, devils, are locked up in this place called the Abyss since the days of Noah. We're told that Jesus, in his risen body, went and preached to these guys in the days of Noah. And that's why it says in Ephesians that before he ascended up into heaven, what is it but he descended into the lower parts of the earth. And then, in Revelation chapter 9, after the church is taken out of here, after the gathering together of the saints, we're told that this abyss, this subterranean prison called the Abyss, or the bottomless pit, it's called in the book of Revelation, we're told that an angel, a star, falls from heaven to earth with the key to the bottomless pit. He releases these angels once again. They're released onto the earth once again. And in Revelation chapter 9, verse 11, it talks about their leader. And it says he is their king, and it gives us his name. And he is the beast who ascends out of the abyss. And he goes on to become what we call the Antichrist. And I'm sorry I've talked a lot, but you have to remember I'm Irish, so I would talk the hind legs off a donkey. So you better jump in there, Lisa, in case I'm doing too much talking.
No, I'm fascinated by hearing what you have to say. I actually, you know, what you have to say really fits right in with my own studies. I know that not long ago, scientists reported that they had found within the human race 2 different strains of human, one pure human and one human plus something else. Oh, it looks like we're going to a break real quick. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Shattered, you're gone away. We've cried here for hours, and the hours turn to days. We know you regret this, leaving us here with portraits and memories that we've held so dear. When I hear your name, it's not the same, no matter what. It's been 3 months since you left us, so far nothing's been the same. And my question without answer is, am I the one to blame? And he was such a good description of a favorite future man. He spoke well of other people, and they said the same for him. When I hear your name, it's not the same. Started at 0, then how did things change? Seems like just yesterday we were the same. We were the same. We were the same.
Welcome to CUBN, Christians United Broadcasting Network, where we love Jesus. Amen.
the shore, 2 feet planted in the sand, soaking up your glory, yeah. Saw you walking from a distance, without a hint of resistance. You had your arms open and a warmth in your eyes. You took my hand and you whispered, come to me when you're weary, and I'll give you hope when you're hurting. I'll give you rest from your burden. Come to me when you're weary, and I'll give you hope when you're
Welcome back to Believers Central World Update. This is Christians United Broadcasting Network, and we're so blessed to have author Patrick Heron with us today. He is a wonderful prophecy teacher from Dublin, Ireland, and it is such a pleasure to have you, sir. I'm fascinated by what you have to say on this. As we were talking before we went to the break about how not long ago scientists had claimed that they have found 2 different types of human beings in our population. One that is human and one that is kind of human plus something else. Now these angels that appear as men, now, do you think that are they born into bodies, or do they just have bodies they appear in? How does that work?
Excuse me. No, this is the way they were created. That's why they're called the sons of God in Genesis chapter 4. It talks about the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and they took them and married them. The reason they're called sons of God is because they were created by God, and they look like us, we look like them. If we went to heaven right now, we would see Jesus sitting on the right hand of his Father, the Most High God. They in turn are surrounded by 24 elders sitting on 24 thrones. We don't know who they are, so we won't speculate. But when it says in Genesis, let us make man in our image, in the image of God made he man, obviously this is perhaps who he was talking to. And then it says they are surrounded and torn by multitudes of these spirit men that we call angels. So we look like them, they look like us. If the angel Gabriel showed up to you right now, Lisa, I reckon he's going to look like a man. I mean, when they asked Jesus Christ, show us God, he says, he who has seen me has seen my Father. So he looks like his father in the same way that maybe a lot of sons look like their fathers. So I think these men, they look like us and we look like them. The difference is they're spirit beings. You know, when they go to heaven, they're not invisible, ephemeral entities, you know, nothingness floating around. In fact, when you get into the book of Revelation and you look at the description of the New Jerusalem, which is another thing we might talk about, you know, my last book, the Nephilim and the Pyramid of the Apocalypse, and how the Great Pyramid of Giza is prophesying something to come in the future. When you look at the description of the New Jerusalem, which John saw, he tells us all the different stones it's made out of. He talks about the river of life flowing out from the midst of it. He says the streets are like transparent gold. He says it's got 12 gates made out of a single pearl each, etc., etc. Well, we know what a pearl is. We know what jasper is. We know what onyx is, sardonyx. These are all stones that are made, that are known to us. In fact, it talks about when it talks about the marriage feast in heaven, when Jesus Christ gets married to his bride at the marriage feast, and then it talks about him on a white horse getting ready to come back at Armageddon. It talks about the armies of heaven also dressed in linen, riding on horses behind them. That's us. Well, then you know what? There are horses up there as well. So maybe if there's horses, maybe there's fields. Maybe the horses eat grass, you know, because the descriptions of the New Jerusalem are physical, quote, end of quote, if you know what I mean. We know what gold is. We know what pearls are. We all those different stones that the New Jerusalem was made up of our physical, quote, end of quote. So there are two parallel universes going on at the moment, Lisa. There's here, where we are, with all the stuff that's going on in the world, and there's this parallel universe out beyond light years away, called, the Bible calls heaven. And in this place is Jesus Christ. You know, he said, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and take you unto myself, that where I am, there you will be also. So he's been up there for the last 2,000 years. He's got his sleeves rolled up. He's mixing cement. He's using his carpentry skills. He's putting a big extension on his father's house, getting ready for a huge visitation of people that are going to come up there once he comes back to get us. So, you know, when we get up there, I don't think we're all going to, you know, suddenly turn into invisible entities, you know, sitting around on clouds, you know, smoking cigars and playing harps. You know, I just hope that they have a Dubliner bar up there and they serve Guinness, because I'm looking forward to, you know, buying Jesus a pint of Guinness. He hasn't had a glass of wine in 2,000 years. Remember, at the Last Supper, he says, I shall not drink of the fruit of the vine until I'm with you in paradise. So I'm looking forward to sharing a nice glass of Chianti with him, you know. These are real beings, you know, the man that appeared to Gabriel. Gabriel described, or Daniel rather, in the book of Daniel says, the man, Gabriel, appeared to me. He's a man, but he's a spirit being. So he can come between earth and heaven in the blink of an eye, because spirits are not constrained by the ordinary laws of physics as you and I are. But getting back to what we were talking about before the break, I mean, you talked about scientists have discovered 2 strains of people. Well, I wouldn't be surprised with that. I was just reading before I came on with you the verse from Genesis where when God confronted Adam and Eve and the serpent, he said to him, I'm going to put enmity between your seed and her seed. You shall bruise his heel and it shall crush your head. So he was talking about 2 different seeds there. There are 2 different seed lines. Now, I don't want to get into this now per se because it's quite controversial and I don't understand it. But several times when Jesus was arguing with the chief priests and the Pharisees, for instance, they said to him, we be of our father Abraham. The reason they said that was because they were intimating that he was illegitimate, because they knew he was born out of wedlock. We have a father, but you don't. And he said to them, you are of your father the devil, and the works of your father ye will do. He was a murderer and a liar from the beginning, and abode not in the truth. Several other places he described the chief priests and Pharisees. He said, you are the offspring of serpents, or the offspring of vipers, it says in King James Version. But in the Greek, that is serpent, offspring of serpents. So there are people in the world, back then they were the political and religious leaders, whom he described as the offspring of serpents. You know, the wheat and the tares. So these people are running around today, and they're the people who are running the White House, running Europe, running Britain, running Iran, running China. These are the people who get to the top in the religious and the political fields. Now, we don't understand the ins and outs of it, at least I don't, because, you know, now we see through a glass darkly. Now we know in part, and it's a very, very small part we know. But getting back to what we were talking to before the break, as I said to you, these guys, 200 fallen angels, spirit men, gods, devils, if you like, are locked up in the subterranean prison called the bottomless pit or the abyss. It's going to be released according to Revelation chapter 9. And in verse 11, it gives us the name of the Antichrist. I'll read it to you. Chapter 9, verse 11, Revelation. They had a king over them, the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek is Apollyon. And those names both mean the destroyer. So, it says they had a king over them. So this guy is a king. Now, a king just means a leader. He could be a president, or a CEO, or a general, or, you know, the chairman, or whatever. So he's the leader, and he's an angel. And his name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek his name is Apollyon. Well, Lisa, Apollyon is nothing more than how the Greeks spell Apollo. And Apollo was one of the main leaders of the original pantheon of gods back 1,000 years before the flood of Noah, along with other so-called gods such as Mercury, Jupiter, Athena, who was a female goddess. Athens is named after Athena. Hercules, Herculon in the island of Crete is named after Hercules. Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, several other names. You remember all those Greek gods? This is who these guys were. And if you look at Apollo was one of the main leaders of the original pantheon of Greek gods. He had his oracle at Delphi. You can go onto the net and put in Delphi, an incredible place. And people used to come to talk and pay money to the oracle to have prophecy. Apollo was supposed to be the god of medicine, the god of music, and the god of prophecy. And so this is who this guy was. And these guys literally were on the earth. Everybody saw them. And if you go to Greece, Italy, Turkey, that whole area of the Mediterranean, you will see these incredible temples all over the place. And for instance, in what's that small island we went to? Not Crete, another one. I'll think of it in a moment. It's only a small island there, 30 miles long and about 20 miles wide, and it had 7 temples on it. Temples to Athena, to Jupiter, to Mercury, to Apollo, all over the place. And these are incredible temples. These guys lived there. Everybody saw them. They had sex with women and produced offspring, which were giants. And these are the guys that are locked up. But once the apocalypse kicks in, after the gathering together of the church, where millions and millions of people, born-again Christians, the body of Christ, the church of God, the ecclesia, the called out, are going to heaven, then these guys are released onto the earth, and it says their leader is called the beast out of the abyss. And his name is Abaddon in Hebrew and Apollyon, which translates into our word as Apollo. And Apollo goes on to become what we call the Antichrist, but John calls him the beast who ascends out of the abyss. And he goes on to become the de facto president of the world, or the Antichrist. He's got a lieutenant called the false prophet, who's going to deceive many of the people with him with counterfeit signs, miracles, and wonders. And it's because they are supernatural beings, spirit beings, powerful spirit beings, that they can do supernatural signs, miracles, and wonders. You know, Tony Blair isn't going to be calling fire down from heaven any day soon.
Well, you know, does this mean that that they look just a bit different than us? I know in the scriptures that Abraham knew these beings that he saw were not humans. And also the scripture talks about how the Antichrist, the world will consider him God. And I really can't picture the world considering a man God. When these beings appear, will the world know that they are not men, regular men, but that they are different?
Well, first of all, getting back to Abraham, if you read the account back in, is it Genesis 17, where these 3 men came to Abraham and Sarah, and he brought them in, and he sent out his servant to kill the fatted calf, and Sarah made a big meal, and they sat down and they had veal with bread, and they washed it all down with milk. And then he started having a discussion with the main leader of these 3 men. And he said, my Lord, you know, if they find 80 righteous men in Sodom, don't destroy it. But what if they find 60 or 40? That Lord, Lisa, all the way down through there, 11 times I think it appears in that chapter, in Hebrew is the word Jehovah. So he was literally talking to God himself. And with 2 others of his men, probably Michael, who's the security, he's the muscle, and the other guy, probably Gabriel. And then in the next chapter after that, Gabriel and Michael, I presume that's who they were. They're the 2 that were always showing up. Those 2 angels, they went in to Sodom. Lot met them. He brought them into his house. He washed their feet. So these angels got dirty feet. Then he gave them another meal, and they wolfed down another big meal. So these guys have big appetites. So when you look at when you allow the scripture to define what these people are, they look like men, and they must have been very, very good-looking men also, because, and why wouldn't they be? They're the sons of God. Because we're told that all the men of Sodom, both young and old, came around banging on Lot's door saying, send out those two men, we want to have sex with them. And of course, that's where we get Sodom and Gomorrah, which represent homosexuality and lesbianism. And of course, we know what we get the word sodomy from there.
Yes.
Getting back to your other point about when this guy shows up, yes, remember, this guy is called the Antichrist. Now, anti in Greek, it means against, but it also means in the stead of. So when this guy comes, I believe he's coming in the stead of Christ. Remember when they asked Jesus in Matthew 24, Lisa, they said, excuse me, they said, what will be the signs of your coming and of the end of this age? First thing he said was, do not let anybody deceive you, for many will come in my name, saying, I am Christ. And then he alluded to one in particular who was going to come along, saying, I am Christ. In John chapter 5, he said, I come in my Father's name, and you reject me. If another comes in his own name, him you will accept. So just as the world rejected the true Messiah when he came along, the world will accept the false Messiah and believe his lie and swallow it hook, line and sinker. So this guy is coming in the stead of Christ. I believe when this guy comes along, he is coming in the stead of the Messiah. In fact, when he shows up, I wouldn't be if this guy has got holes in his hands, and if the first counterfeit miracle he does is to change water into wine. I wouldn't be surprised. I have a video on my YouTube showing the connections between the true Christ and the false Christ. Let me give them to you. For instance, we're told that the Antichrist goes out on a white horse with a bow with no arrow. That means he goes out and preaches peace and he wages war, right? But why does he go out on a white horse? The reason he goes out on a white horse, which is in Revelation chapter 6, is because in Revelation chapter 19, we're told that when the Messiah, when the true Messiah comes back, when Jesus Christ comes back at Armageddon, he's riding on a white horse. So the false Messiah is going out on a white horse. We're told that when Jesus Christ was on the earth, he did signs, miracles, and wonders. We're told in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 that when the counterfeit Messiah comes back, he's going to deceive almost the whole world with counterfeit signs, miracles, and wonders. Jesus Christ died and was raised from the dead. Revelation chapter 13 says that this beast was going to receive a deadly head wound, perhaps he'll be assassinated, and that he's going to be raised from the dead by the power of the dragon. And the dragon is the Satan. Right? Twice in Revelation we're told it talks about the dragon and the serpent, who is the devil and Satan. Right? And that's another
Yes.
thing. The serpent of Genesis 3 is a figure of speech referring to Satan and the devil. You know, Jesus Christ was called, when John the Baptist saw Jesus, he said, behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. Well, he wasn't looking at a little woolly animal with 4 legs. Lamb of God is a figure or a metaphor referring to Jesus Christ. He's also called the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Now, Jesus is neither a lamb or a lion, but they are descriptions of his personage. He can be as meek as a lamb or as bold as a lion. In the same way, we're told twice in the book of Revelation, it talks about the dragon and the serpent, who is the devil and Satan. 2 Corinthians 11 talks about Eve being deceived by the serpent. The serpent of Genesis 3 was not a snake. The serpent in Hebrew is nakash. It means bright shining one who flies, who is very deceptive, who utters. It's a metaphor referring to Satan, who's the devil, and Satan, the serpent, and the dragon. It was a beautiful, powerful, very attractive angel that appeared to Adam and Eve and who seduced them. But he's called the serpent. So Jesus was raised from the dead. There's going to be a counterfeit resurrection when the Antichrist comes. And everybody's going to see this. They're going to see this because he'll be on Sky, he'll be on CNN, he'll be on Fox News. Everybody will see this guy dead and he'll be raised from the dead. This is a counterfeit resurrection because he's a counterfeit Christ.
Well, do you believe that since it says he will come in his own name and people receive him, that this being, Apollyon, that's who he will tell people that he is,
no.
that he comes in his own name?
I think when he comes, he's going to come as the Messiah. I think he's going to tell people, I am Christ. Remember, the Jews are still waiting for their Messiah to come the first time, right? And the Muslims are waiting for their 12th Imam and their Mahdi to arrive. And if you read, again in my book, I have a chapter on the 12th Imam, or the Mahdi, which is the Muslim Messiah. And according to their prophetic writings in the Quran, we're told that the Mahdi, as a 12-year-old boy, disappeared and hid down a hole or down a well somewhere. But at the end of the world, he's going to come up out of this hole in the ground, and he's going to lead Islam to a series of victorious battles over her enemies and establish Islam as the world religion. And it also says in his writings that when he comes, he's going to have a lieutenant. And you know who that lieutenant is? Jesus Christ.
That is the Mahdi, isn't it? Or, well, they say it's Jesus, don't they?
No, they say that the Mahdi, when he arrives, will have as his lieutenant Jesus Christ.
They wish.
I know, but I mean, but this is going to be a counterfeit Jesus Christ, you understand? So in the book of Revelation, it says there's one coming in the stead of Christ, and there's a guy called the false prophet, who's the beast with two horns. And if you go and study Daniel, you'll see that this beast with two horns rises up in a place called Persia, which is present-day Iran. And if you listen to the president of Iran, you know, Mahmoud, I'm going to have a jihad, that guy, he keeps talking about the Mahdi is coming. So they are expecting this Mahdi to come. And he rises up with two horns. These horns, again, are a metaphor. I'll talk about those in a moment. And it talks about him attacking countries around there. But then it talks about a goat coming from the east or from the west across the sea without touching the sea. And he bangs into this ram with two horns, and he kicks him into line. And I believe this is the Antichrist coming and kicking this guy, kicking his ass and kicking him into line. And that the Mahdi, the beast with the two horns, is the Mahdi. He's going to keep the billion Muslims in line. But the one who comes in the name of Christ, the false Messiah, is going to deceive the Jews and all of what's left on earth of what we call Christendom, so-called. You know, there's 1.3 billion Catholics, and going from my experience in Ireland, being raised as a Catholics, none of them, people don't know anything about Jesus Christ. So you have two men in the book of Revelation, the false Messiah and the false prophet, and you have two men in the Quran, the Mahdi and his lieutenant, who is Jesus Christ. And remember, the devil knows scripture better than you and I do, Lisa. That's why he could quote it verbatim to Jesus Christ when he said, you know, jump off the top of the temple, because it is written, he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee, and in their arms you'll raise them up. He knows the scripture better than you and I. The Quran was only written in something like 800 AD, 800 years after the book of Revelation was written. So the devil knows what's going to happen. So he goes along. Muhammad, who wrote the Quran, said that a bright shining angel appeared to him and dictated the book to him. Now, you know, again, 2 Corinthians chapter 11 talks about the serpent deceiving Eve, and it says that he is a bright shining angel, and it's no wonder that his ministers appear as ministers of righteousness, and that his ministers appear as ministers of light, because he is an angel of light. That's what it says, an angel of light. Because Lucifer means angel of light. So he knows what it is to make the counterfeit look like the real thing. So he dictated the Quran. He's got two guys in the Quran, Jesus Christ and the Mahdi, and I believe that is the beast with two horns. That's why I don't believe that the Antichrist is a Muslim. I think the Antichrist is going to take care of the Western Hemisphere, and the Mahdi, who's going to rise up out of Persia, which is present-day Iran, according to Daniel, will be the Muslim Messiah. That's who the two guys are. But I think, you know, remember, you have to understand, Lisa, that the reason we're discussing these things now is because, excuse me, we have the Spirit of God in us. You know, it says Paul said in Corinthians 2, the natural man receives not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them because they are spiritually discerned. The reason we're discussing this stuff is our spiritual eyes were opened. We were blind. We got saved. We got the Spirit of God in us. He opened our eyes to these spiritual things. When we're all gone out of this world, we are the light of the world, you know, among whom we shine in a perverted world. When we're all taken out, all that's left is darkness. So the people that are going to be left on the earth is what Paul called the natural man, the man of body and soul, but no spirit. So this guy shows up. He starts doing signs, miracles, and wonders. Of course they believe him. Well, look, they nearly put Michael Jackson up on a pedestal a couple of years ago when he died. The world is always looking for some god. You know, that's why many people, when Barack Obama came on the scene, thought this guy is going to change the world, you know, because he could make the hair stand up on the necks of people when he spoke. You know, he's a great man to give a speech. So the world is looking. They're crying out for a Messiah to come along. And all the people, the vast majority that are going to be left, the natural man. So he's going to be able to deceive them, no problem, with counterfeit signs, miracles, and wonders. Sorry.
No, I'm fascinated to hear what you have to say. I know that your schedule only allowed for 60 minutes. We still have so many questions.
No, go ahead. Let's keep going.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. Well, we are at the top of the hour, so I'm thrilled that you're able to stay with us. I do have some questions. The next thing I'm going to want to ask you about is what happens after the rapture. I understand that these 200 original fallen may be back, and I wanted to hear what you have to say about that. So stay tuned, everybody. This is awesome. We'll be right back with Patrick Heron after our break.
Right back into reality and all that's going wrong. 'Cause in the midst of this chaotic life, I try to find peace of mind, but you've been there all along. And even now I hear you whisper, come to me where you're weary. I'll give you hope when you're hurting. I'll give you rest from your burden. Come to me when you're weary. I'll give you hope when you're hurting. I'll give you rest from your burden. I feel the weight just slowly lifting as you close the distance. And I know it's gonna be okay when I hear you say, come to me when you're weary. I'll give you hope when you're hurting. Oh, I'm gonna carry your burden. Come to me when you're weary. I'll give you hope when you're hurting. I'll give you rest from your burden now. I'll give you hope when you're hurting. I'll give you rest from your burden now. I'll give you
Tell me I'm forgiven and loved, 'cause I hear it from the street corner priest, yes. On how God is loving, how man can be clean. But my joy has been on holiday and my peace is almost passed away. Tell me I'm forgiven and free. Oh, I tried and tried to rectify my hopeless situation. situation. But by the lie, I still have work to do. Now I'm working 9 to 5 like I can earn my own salvation. But there is no condemnation in you. No, no. Oh, whisper to me now that it's for real. Oh, 'cause in the silence of these walls, righteousness lost its appeal. Dirty deeds have done me in. Oh, but that can't stop the faithful friend giving mercy once again as you heal. Here it is, I'm feeling. Oh, I tried and tried to rectify my hopeless situation, but by the lie, I still have work to do. Now I'm working 9 to 5 like I can earn my own salvation, but there is no condemnation. Oh, he died to rectify my hopeless situation, and his blood commands my guilt to leave. Now on Calvary I stand, empty pockets, open hands. Oh, there is no condemnation for me.
Praise the King. We're back. Welcome back to Believer Central World Update. Our special guest today is Patrick Heron, worldwide renowned author and end-time Bible prophecy expert. It's such a thrill to have you, sir. And I have another question for you about what we can expect, what the people of the earth can expect after the rapture of the children and the believers.
Well, to continue on from what I said earlier, Lisa, that yes, the gods, the devils, the fallen angels, which are the Nephilim, excuse me, I've got a bit of a tickly cough. I better
Take
have
your
a sip
time.
of my coffee.
Please,
I
go ahead.
had load up on coffee with some nice Bailey's Irish cream in there, you know. Excuse me.
Hey, just take your time. We're hanging on every word you have to say.
Well, around the same time, where it talks in Revelation 9, it says a star falls from heaven to earth with the key to the bottomless pit. And again, a star is a metaphor for an angel, because regular stars don't fall from heaven to earth with a key to the bottomless pit. And he opens this bottomless pit and releases these guys. And they are the fallen angels that have been locked up there. And they've got this king who's an angel who's called Abaddon or Apollyon, a.k.a. Apollo. And the book of Enoch he's called Azazel. We call him the Antichrist. And he goes on to become the beast who ascends out of the abyss and deceives almost the whole world with counterfeit signs, miracles, and wonders. Around
Would
the
this
same
include
time,
ships, perhaps?
includes which?
Does that mean that they may arrive in ships, causing people to believe that they're aliens from another planet or something like that?
Well, no, these guys are coming up out of the bottomless pit, Lisa. This is places down under our feet somewhere. Remember when I said in Ephesians, it talks about Jesus, that before he ascended into heaven, he descended first into the lower parts of the earth?
Right.
And the demons, this is down under our feet somewhere, this place is, in the center of the earth.
The deception is, I'm just wondering what how they will perpetrate the deception. I know that alien life has been an idea that has been spread around the world. There have been several governments who have come and given disclosure. We had the Canadian Prime Minister who came on television to say aliens were, that we were being visited by extraterrestrials. We had The Mexican government also issued a statement of disclosure. Is this the deception? Is this the direction it's going?
Absolutely, because there's the other half of what I was saying after these guys are released is written in Revelation chapter 12. Around the time that these guys are released from the bottomless pit, which is down under our feet, it talks about a war in heaven. And it says Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels. And it says they prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And it says they're cast out of heaven and cast down to the earth. And it says, woe unto the people of the earth, for the devil is cast down, and he is very angry because he knows his time is short. And then it says to us, it describes the dragon, and it says, the accuser of our brethren accuses them before God day and night. In the same chapter, you know, one of the names for Satan means the accuser or the slanderer. And it says that the devil accuses them before God day and night, the brethren. Lisa, we are the brethren. The church of God, the ecclesia, the body of Christ on earth at the moment are the brethren. So, contrary to popular belief, the devil and his angels were not cast down out of earth thousands of years ago. According to the Bible, they're still in heaven. But at this future time, there's going to be a war in heaven. Not a battle, but a war. And it says they prevail not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. So the devil has access to the throne of God 24/7, where he is accusing the brethren. He's rehearsing the sins of the Christians on earth in the face of God and Jesus and the 24 elders and all the rest of the, you know, the spirit men, the angels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, the rest of them there 24/7. He's in there and he's saying, hey, look at that Paddy Heron guy down there in Dublin. He had a couple of pints of Guinness last night. Then he went home and had a row with his wife and he kicked the cat. He's a bad dude. And that Lisa Dennis, that girl, whoa, hey, she's some lady. That's what he's doing. They are still up there. But perhaps heaven is a bit like the earth. Remember we spoke earlier about the physical attributes of heaven, how that there's gold up there and stones and stuff like that. There's 24 elders sitting on thrones. So maybe heaven is like the earth. Maybe God and Jesus and the elders are sitting in the New Jerusalem over in Florida, and then over in Ireland is the devil and the rest of the fallen angels who rebel with him. But day and night, he has access to the throne of God, and he is accusing the brethren day and night. But Jesus Christ comes back. Jesus Christ comes back with the church, yeah? He gathers together all the Christians since the day of Pentecost, of which there has to be many, many hundreds of millions, and us. The dead in Christ rise first. Then we, which are alive and remain, shall go up to meet him in the air. He brings us back to this place that he's been preparing for us for the last 2,000 years. And when hundreds and hundreds of millions of people go back to heaven, we are going to get a new spiritual body. Now we're righteous. Now we don't sin anymore because we've done away with the corruptible body. There's no more sin, no more original sin in us. We're leaving the old man behind, the dead body. We have a new spiritual body wherein dwells righteousness. We go to heaven. Now there isn't going to be a whole lot of room up there anymore for the devil and the rest of his angels. Now he has nothing to complain to God about anymore. Now there's a war between Michael, the archangel, and his angels and the devil, and they are cast down to the earth. That's maybe when they're going to show up in UFOs and in spacecrafts and various other things. And the people are going to see them. And that's why we have a woman called Mazlan Othman, Lisa, who's the UN diplomat for aliens in the Office for Outer Space Affairs, no less. That's why we have the Pope's astronomer, Dr. Guy Consolmagno, who says that he will baptize the aliens when they arrive, if they want to be baptized. That's why we had, a couple of years ago, British school children were being trained in UFO crash drills. What they should do should a UFO crash in their school. That's why when I was coming back from New Zealand the Christmas before last with my wife and my third daughter, we were visiting my other two daughters who live over in New Zealand. We were coming through Heathrow Airport in London, which is one of the biggest airports in the world, to catch a flight back to Dublin. We were walking from the airport into the hall, and there on the wall, all the way in, were these big signs about 4 feet by 5 feet, and on this sign was your alien head. You know, that oval-shaped alien head with the word knowledge written across the top of it. And these were on the wall all the way in from the airplane. And I stopped with my wife and my daughter and said, look at this. This is absolutely unbelievable. Now, somebody had to, in the top level meetings in the government of Heathrow Airport, had to decide that we're going to put this on the wall. Why are they there? Who put them there?
Oh.
And there's something like 40 million passengers go through Heathrow every year, and they're seeing this picture on the wall of an alien head with the word knowledge written on it.
Has
That's
the
why we
UK
have-
given public disclosure? Like Canada and Mexico?
It's all part of the same thing. All these people, these governments have been opening up their UFO files because they're getting ready to getting the people ready for these guys to come back. If you look at all the movies, if you go down to a movie theater for the last 10 years, about 7 out of every 10 movies are supernatural, mystical, spiritual, gods, fallen angels, vampires, zombies, Thor, Avengers. That's what it's all about. You look at the television, you've got Stargate with the pyramids, which we can talk about after this. The pyramid is a very big thing. We've got Buffy, we've got Fallen, we've got 5, God's coming down to help men run this affair. The whole world, Lisa, has been subliminally conditioned and brainwashed in order to in order to greet these guys when they show up. When these people come to Earth, and they may very well come in UFOs or some sort of spacecraft, people are almost going to be expecting them to show up. We have adverts on the television over here. I don't know if you have it. I think you have it in the States. It's for a deodorant, and it shows all these female fallen angels falling out of the earth with wings, because it actually says there's one reference to female angels in the Bible in Zechariah 5, and it describes them as having wings like a stork. And if you look at some of the ancient friezes on temples and drawings from Mesopotamia and Turkey in the Far East, way BC, you'll often see women. Athena had wings. You'll see female entities having these wings. And according to the Book of Enoch, there were female angels that fell in the days of Noah. And he described them as the sirens. And the sirens in Greek mythology, again, were those women who used to entice the sailors to shipwreck in their boat. And in ancient traditions in Ireland, we had a woman called the Banshee. And the Banshee, again, had long hair, and she combed her hair, and if she'd throw her comb at you, and hit you, then you would die. So there's a lot of truth in these ancient mythologies and traditions. I saw another advert on the telly over here recently of guys, they were advertising insurance or something, and they had 2 little horns on their head. We have another advert that was on the television last night showing these 2 women, and they were like centaurs. Because I believe when these fallen angels were on the earth for 1,000 years or so prior to the flood, they were messing around with animals, they were messing around with fish, they were messing around with birds. I think, in fact, I have pictures in my book called The Nephilim and the Pyramid of the Apocalypse, where it shows these beings, these men. In fact, it's an obelisk in the British Museum, and I saw it. It's about 6 feet tall. It's got all these little images around it of just regular things like men on horses with spears, elephants, chariots, bows and arrows. And then in the middle it has these guys with these animals that have men's arms, and a man with an animal's body. If you go to Egypt, you'll see these half animal, half men beings all the time. These things were on the earth. They were messing around with animals and mixing them up with human DNA and producing these weird looking creatures. They're going
doing
in
that
there.
again as well, aren't they? So
know
you think the
they're
satyrs and centaurs, minotaurs, these things were results of genetic experimentation?
They absolutely were. And not only that, if you read Revelation chapter 18, verse 2, I'll go to it now, seeing as I have this book right in my hand here, where it talks about Babylon. And Babylon the Great, this mighty city that's going to reign over the kings of the earth in the end times. That's another chapter on my book. What exactly this city is, Babylon, which is going to reign over the kings of the earth. In other words, the kings of the earth are going to reign from this city. And it says in Revelation chapter 18, verse 2, because this city is going to be nuked at Armageddon. It says, Babylon the Great has fallen. She has become the home for demons, and a haunt for every evil spirit, and a haunt for every unclean and detestable bird. And the parallel universe in Isaiah says it's become the home of satyrs. And literally, the word satyr is in the Hebrew, S-A-T-I-R. And every detestable bird and every foul spirit. These guys are coming back, Lisa. And that's why Jesus Christ said in Luke, I think it is, he says, the powers of heaven will be shaken. And it says, men's hearts failing them for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. He said, and when it talks about that powers of heaven being shaken, it's talking about these entities, the devil and the rest of his princes and the rest of his devils, who are the prince of the power of the air. You know, he said, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world in heavenly places. That heavenly places in Ephesians 6:12 is eperanios. In Ephesians 3:10 it talks about that we might be made manifest unto the principalities and powers in eperanios. Eperanios. The same word is used in Ephesians chapter 1:20 when it talks about God, the power of God which he wrought in Christ when he raised him from the dead and set him at his own right hand in eperanios. It's speaking about heaven. So these are the powers are in heaven. They're going to be shaken. They're going to be cast down to the earth. And that's why it says in Revelation 6:13, the stars fell from heaven to earth like figs falling from a fig tree, shaken by a mighty wind. Right?
That is going to be so traumatic for the tribulation saints, isn't it?
It's going to be so traumatic for the people of the earth. It says people's hearts failing them for watching after those things which are coming on the earth. People are going to be dropping dead of heart attacks on the spot when they see this going on. And it's going to be extremely traumatic for the tribulation saints. Because, you know, what's going to happen one of these days, Lisa, is that, and I know who the tribulation saints are. You know, they're people in my family who are not born again, who are not saved. They're friends of mine. I've got loads of them who have spoken the word of God too. I tell them that the rapture of the church is coming. I tell them they need to get saved. And they're saying, yeah, but not ready to believe that yet. Not ready to believe that yet. You know, I've been in America. I've driven cars around America all over the place. And no matter where you get into a car and drive in America, you switch on the radio and you flick through the dial and you'll hear some great preacher speaking about the rapture of the church. So just about everybody in America has heard about the rapture, but half the population don't want to know. Half the population are sitting, you know, I mean, America is such a paradox. One half the country is you know, right-wing, conservative, lots of evangelical Christians who love God, who love Jesus, who read their Bible. And then the other half is Sodom and Gomorrah. It's Hollywood. It's the pornography coming out of Hollywood, the TV shows, the language that's coming out, the violence. It's just disgusting. I mean, I've been around the block a few times, and yet I get offended by the stuff I see coming out of Hollywood now. You know?
Oh, it's ridiculous. I can't even turn on. I don't actually have television anymore. I had to get rid of it. The commercials alone were so horrible. But you know what? I'm sorry.
The point I'm going to make, Asa, is these guys are going to wake up someday, and we're all going to be gone. And that's when a lot of these people are going to say, oh my goodness, you know, it's too late. It's like, again, I have a chapter in my book on the 10 virgins, the 5 wise virgins, who had oil in their lamps, and their lamps were trimmed, and they were ready to go out to meet their bridegroom. And then the unwise virgins who were not ready. And then at midnight, the bridegroom came, the call came, go ye out to meet him. The wise virgins got up, they trimmed their lamps because they had oil. And oil, again, is a figure for Holy Spirit. We've got Holy Spirit in us. We're born again of incorruptible seed. We've the seed of God in us. We cannot lose it. We're ready to go out. But then when the call came, the unwise virgin said, oh, we don't have any oil. Give us some of your oil so we can go out. And the ones said, no, we can't do that, or we won't have enough. You go and buy oil. But when they went off to buy oil, when they came back, the door was shut. And the wise virgins had gone into the marriage feast. It was too late for the unwise virgins. The door was shut. The horse had bolted. The train had left the station. And that's going to be with many, many of the people we know, friends, family, who have heard us, listened to us, but refused to accept the word of God and refuse to get saved. And I believe they're the people that are going to turn to God in huge quantities, huge multitudes of them during the tribulation. But
I think so too. I agree. The rapture event itself is going to cause those who are left behind to kind of have to hit reset on their brains. This is not the type of an event that human beings are used to processing with our minds. And I think that once the rapture has occurred, that people will be looking for an external explanation, because everybody knows that mankind does not have the technology or the capability to cause this type of event to occur, that this type of event must be coming from outside, from God or the deception, aliens. So that the rapture event actually sets up those left behind, doesn't it, to look for a supernatural explanation.
Yeah, it's going to be cataclysmic. I mean, again, referring back to Revelation chapter 9. Let me just read this to you. The fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw stars that had fallen from the sky to earth. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. When he opened the abyss, it says, smoke rose from it like the smoke from a gigantic furnace. The sun and the sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss. So, if this is literally what's going to happen. This smoke is going to come out of this abyss, and the sun is going to be darkened. I wouldn't be surprised if the earth is going to be plunged into darkness for a few days. And then when the smoke clears, we're all gone, the church is gone, but all these beings have arisen. And as I said to you earlier, remember, the vast majority of the people that are left on the earth is natural man. The man of body and soul, but no spirit. So they see all these beings. This guy shows up and says, I am the Christ. And he starts,
Sure makes for a situation that a lot of people are going to buy hook, line, and sinker, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And then it's going to be cataclysmic. It's going to be, I can't imagine what it's going to be like. But these guys are going to come down. People are going to see them coming down. They're going to manifest on the earth. People will see them just as they did in the days of Noah. As it was, so shall it be. And when the original 200 manifested on the earth, all the population of the earth saw them. They saw these supernatural, superhuman, powerful spirit beings who deceived them with signs, miracles, and wonders. And they were like gods. And these guys are going to, it'll be like that program, V or 5, where they're going to come together and work with human magicians to try and, bring peace to the earth. And that has all to do with Daniel chapter 2, where it talks about the future kingdom coming of 10 toes, made up of clay and iron. And it says they shall mingle their seed with the seed of men. This is referring to the Nephilim. And the clay, I believe, is referring to the humans. With, dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. That's the clay. But compared to these spirit beings, these supernatural gods, it's like clay compared to iron. And that is the 10 toes.
Yes,
made up of iron.
That's exactly what I was thinking when you said that. If we may, I'd really like to give our chat room a chance to ask you some questions that they may have. They've been so patient. Hi, guys. How are you doing? I'm so glad to see you. Listen, if you have questions for Patrick Heron, yes, I can give you that information. The name of his books are Apocalypse Soon. That one's from 97. We have The Apocalypse Generation in 2004. And The Nephilim and the Pyramid of the Apocalypse. And then his newest book is The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order, which he has. Is this the one, sir, where that is an ebook as well?
Yeah,
the new one?
Most of them are ebooks. I also have 3 audiobooks with me speaking. And my last 2 books, The Nephilim and the Pyramid of the Apocalypse. Perhaps we could talk about that for a while. The Great Pyramid of Giza and how that fits in with Revelation. But so I'm narrating. Pardon?
I would love that. Yes, please do.
Yeah, well, I've got, those are 3 ebooks. They're also audiobooks and paperbacks. So, you know, on my website, which is www.neph, that's neph.ie. Maybe I should say that in American. That's neph.ie. Yeah. And if
Not bad. That was pretty good, actually.
Thank you, Lisa. So, because it's an audio book with me narrating, now what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to recline in a nice hot bath with a beer in one hand and a cigar in the other, and listen to my mellifluous, melodious Irish brogue as I read to you Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. And by the way, the guys can do that too.
Oh, that sounds really fun to me, actually. That sounds great. Well, let's see if our chat room has any other questions real quick. They've been so patient. Do you guys have any questions for our learned guest who's sharing some wonderful things from the scriptures with us? Yeah, well, Simone, I believe that is what he said, that the Antichrist is a Nephilim. And is this, sir, is this Antichrist a Nephilim from the get-go, from the start, and how does the assassination of the Antichrist and then Satan resurrecting this Antichrist's body, and I mean, does Satan do that? Am I wrong about that?
No, it's a counterfeit death and resurrection. This is what this guy is. He's coming in the stead of Christ, and that's why he's imitating a lot of the attributes of Christ. Just as Christ raised from the dead, the whole world is going to see. It says he receives a deadly head wound, and he's going to be raised from death by the power of the dragon. So I'm assuming, or guessing, that it might be, say, a fake resurrection, because this is all counterfeit. This is all out to deceive all the 6.5 billion or so people that are going to be left on the earth after, say, 500 million evangelical Christians are gone. I don't know we're not told the exact how it's going to be done, but you can imagine it, because it's a counterfeit resurrection.
So
That's
these
exactly
fallen angels can't be killed by...
not the only one that's going to be able to wipe him out. It says Jesus Christ is going to come back and destroy him with the spirit of his mouth. And you remember that at Armageddon, when Jesus comes back on his white horse with the armies from heaven, which is us, I'm looking forward to riding on his shoulder coming back, because I have a bad hip. I've never been able to ride a horse, so I'm looking forward maybe me and you, Lisa, we can go riding horses together when we get to heaven.
Fun.
While we're training, I believe we're going to be doing all these things. I'm looking forward to going running and going skiing and fishing, doing all sorts of things. That's what keeps me going. But
me too. Me too.
When he comes back at Armageddon, it says that the devil is going to be thrown into prison for a season, I think for 1,000 years, and it says that the Antichrist and the false prophet, the beast and the false prophet, are cast alive into the lake of fire. And then when that 1,000 years is up, after Jesus reigns on earth for 1,000 years, it talks about another mini rebellion at the end of that. And then this rebellion is put down again, which just shows you actually the evil in the heart of man, that after reigning on earth under the rulership of Jesus Christ, with, no wars, no famines, everything is great for 1,000 years, that there is still some sort of rebellion. Anyway, that's going to be put down with fire from heaven. And then, the devil is going to get that together. It says he's released for a season, a short time, and he gets this revolution together. That's put down. And then it says the devil is cast into the lake of fire where the beast and the false prophet are. Remember, Jesus said that the lake of fire was reserved for the devil and his angels. These guys are thrown in there, but I don't think they're ever destroyed, because I don't think he can destroy spirit. So
Right.
at the end of the 1,000 years, when the devil is cast into the lake of fire, the beast and the false prophet are still there 1,000 years later, because they're spirit beings. I
Right.
guarantee
If you could destroy immortals, you wouldn't need a prison for them, would you?
Exactly. If they were mortals, they would have been drowned in the flood with the giants and the rest of the population. I guarantee
That's right.
if you throw Tony Blair into a giant furnace, he's going to burn up in a couple of minutes. The same goes for Manuel Barroso, Ronnie Reagan, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and all the rest of them. These are spirit beings. Remember, ladies and gentlemen that are listening, what I am saying to you is not out of my head. This is what the Word of God says. And when you get in and study the 33 appearances of the beast from the abyss, it says, the beast which you saw once was, now is not, and shall come up out of the abyss and go to his destruction. It says that twice in Revelation chapter 17. Why does it say the beast which you saw once was? The reason it says that is because he once reigned on this earth for 1,000 years or so prior to the flood of Noah. He was the king of Greece, and that's why he's called the king of Grecia in Daniel 2. He was probably the king of Assyria. That's why he's called the Assyrian. He was probably Osiris, which is one of the main gods in Egypt. He was probably Nimrod. He was knocking around for 1,000 years. The beast which you saw once was. Then it says now is not. Why does it say now is not? Because he's locked up in the bottomless pit. He's locked up in the abyss, which is called Tartarus. But once the bottomless pit is opened, it says the beast which you saw once was, now is not, but shall come up out of the abyss and go to his destruction. Now that doesn't mean that he's destroyed. The name Abaddon and Apollyon, aka Apollo, aka the beast from the abyss, aka the Antichrist, is the destroyer. That's what his name means, the destroyer. So when it says he goes to his destruction, by the time of Armageddon, the whole world is nearly going to be destroyed. Something like 3 or 4 billion people are going to be dead. So when it says he goes to his destruction, it means he goes out to destroy. This is who this guy is. A supernatural, superhuman spirit being, a fallen angel, an evil angel, a devil. And that's why he and the false prophet are able to perform supernatural signs, miracles, and counterfeit wonders, because they are spirit beings.
We have a couple of more questions that have come up in our chat room. On one I can answer for you. It was asked if you have a Facebook page. And yes, Mr. Patrick Heron is on my friends list. You can look him up by his name on Facebook. And he does have a Facebook there. And
I also have a bunch of YouTubes, Lisa.
oh, you have YouTube.
I have a YouTube channel as well, and if you go on my website, neph.ie, I've got one there called Fallen, which is the most recent one and relates to my book, Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. And it's had something like 38,000 views in 6 months, and a fantastic reaction to it. And I've got other chapters on there. By the way, my book isn't all doom and gloom. I have 3 chapters in there on the rapture, because there's many Christians going around today saying that, oh no, there is no such thing as a rapture, and we have to go through the book of Revelation, and we have to suffer and be tried, etc., etc. which is all rubbish, you know.
Yes, I know.
Jesus
I
Christ,
get them all the time on my wall. They want to argue with me, but I can prove the rapture in every book of the Bible.
Well, that's wonderful, and I have 3 chapters in my book on the rapture. And when the book came out first, Lisa, 3 people wrote to me, and that they said that they cried when they read my book because it cleared up all the fear, all the anxiety, all the anguish they had in their life, which was put into them by so-called Christians telling them that they had to go through the tribulation. But when they read those chapters on the rapture, it cleared up all the confusion, because a right doctrine dispels fear and dispels darkness. And it's very, very simple when you put together all the scriptures with regard to the rapture of the church, the gathering together, Paul called it, of the church. That we are out of here. We are saved from the wrath to come. We are not appointed to wrath. We are to wait for his Son from heaven, who has rescued us from the coming wrath. I mean,
well, you know,
Jesus,
we had a question in the chat room that is precisely along those lines. Our chat room is wanting your opinion on how close you feel personally that we may be to the rapture of the believers.
Well, you know, I have thought it was going to happen in the Feast of Trumpets last year. The night I got saved, Lisa, I got saved in my bedroom in 1976, and basically I was a hippie. You know, in 1973 I went to America as a student, and I sold ice cream to the black people in Norristown, Pennsylvania. I was a hippie. You smoked pot. I did all sorts of funny things. In 1974 I went back again. I started out in Chicago for a few weeks. I hitchhiked back to Pennsylvania. I painted houses in Scranton, Pennsylvania for 6 weeks. Then I drove down to Tucson, Arizona, and I lived out in the desert there with nefarious people for a few weeks. Then I hitchhiked up to California, and I met a friend of mine from Ireland who was becoming a Christian, and he started telling me about God and the devil and that Jesus was alive and he was coming back and all that, and I thought he was nuts. Then I hitchhiked from California all the way back to Pennsylvania. I met some hippies along the way who were Christians who gave me a Bible. When I came back to Ireland, I started reading the Bible in 1974. It meant nothing to me. Then one night around April 1976, I started reading the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 1. And I said, okay, God, if you're there, show me something. This is supposed to be your word. And I started reading it, and I started noticing little things in it and checking things over back in the references. Long story short, a couple of hours later, the Word of God started jumping off the page and speaking to me. It was as if Jesus Christ was in the room with me. So by about 11 o'clock that night, I found myself down on my knees, giving my life to God. The Spirit of God came into me. I'm sure I was radiating like Moses. I read somewhere where something in Matthew that sent me back to the burning bush, where God spoke to Moses and said, take thine shoes from off thine feet, for the ground on which thou standest is holy ground. So I took my shoes off, gave my life to God. Now everything I read was jumping off the page. Like, the first time ever I actually saw that Jesus Christ was the Son of God, that he came, what he did and everything. Jesus Christ was just a swear word to me before this. And then I got up at about 1 o'clock in the morning, I reckon, or 2 o'clock. I got up to Matthew chapter 24. And it says the disciples came to Jesus and they said, what will be the signs of your coming and of the end of this earth? I said, coming? What coming? What coming is he talking about? So I looked in the margin and there was an A in there, and I looked and it said Acts 1:10. So I went to Acts 1:10, and it described how that he was on the Mount of Olives, and then he went up and the cloud received them out of their sight. And the two men which were clothed in white said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus which is taken up from you into heaven shall so come in like manner as you who've seen him go. And when I read that, I almost ascended through the roof of my house. What? Not only is this guy's alive, but he's coming back the same way as he went. Then I looked in the margin again, and it referred me up to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 12. And I read about how Jesus is coming back. The dead in Christ will rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together to meet him in the clouds. And that burned into my heart. And I believe that God showed me that night that I would be alive when Jesus Christ comes back. And I believe that as much today in 2013 as I did in 1976, which is what, 36 years ago, almost 37 years ago. So I'm expecting him to come back anytime. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, 5 years, 10 years, but I think we're very close to it. And that's, you know, if you look at all the stuff that's happening in the world, Lisa, we've had nothing but rain in this country since last April. Incredible floods in England. These floods have been going all the way to Russia. You had droughts in America last year whereby the price of corn and wheat has gone up 25%. Olive oil, the olive oil failed in Spain this year. The price of olive oil is going to go through the roof. We got one good week in September, which allowed the farmers to get into the fields and get a lot of the potatoes, a lot of the spuds out and the wheat and stuff. You know, famine is on the horizon. We can see that. We can see it. Look at the monetary situation going on with the euro and with the dollar. And again, I have this in my book. You know, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The white horse, which is the false Christ, the Messiah, goes out with a bow. Then we have the red horse, who's another guy who I believe I name him. These are real people, by the way. They're metaphors, but they're referring to real beings. Then it talks about the rider on the black horse. And it says the rider on the black horse has the scales in his hand. And he said, 3 quarts of wheat for a day's work and a quart of barley for a day's work, and do not hurt the oil and the wine. Well, black biblically always denotes scarcity and famine, and bread by weight always denotes scarcity. And if you're getting 3 handfuls of wheat and a handful of barley for a day's work, what that is describing is a few slices of bread for a day's work. And it says, do not hurt the oil and the wine. I think that means that the people with the money and the people of power are going to be going all right. But what that is portending is worldwide famine and economic collapse. And if you look at, as I say, the state of the euro, the state of the dollar, it's very, very tenuous. It's just paper money. There's trillions and trillions and trillions owed. It's not sustainable. It's going to collapse sometime in the future. And can you imagine what New York or London with 10 million people or Paris with 10 million people would be like if people got up and they put their plastic cards into an ATM machine and no money came out? Within 2 days, there'll be chaos in these places because there's only enough food for a couple of days. So this is what's portending. You put that together with the weather. We were in New Zealand last year. They had floods in Australia in one area that was bigger than the state of Texas. They had 8 feet of water, and normally these places are desert. Now at the moment over there, there's something like 132 bushfires last week. The place is burning up. You know, the weather is screwed up everywhere. The economies are screwed up. Wars, rumors of wars. Now we have Algeria. Before that we had, you know, Syria. You know, Egypt is on the brink. It's just happening all over the place. So all the signs are there. So how close are we? I do not know. No man knows the day or the hour. You know, in an hour when you think not that he's coming, that's when he's coming. But it's soon. And I'm ready to go out. I've got the oil in my lamp. I'm trimmed. I'm ready to go. And I'm looking forward to meeting Jesus Christ and shaking his hand and having a glass of wine with him. Although I'm sure he's going to give me a good kick in the ass too, because I'm such a sinner and a wretch.
Well, aren't we all? We all are sinners and wretches, and as long as we know that, we're okay. You know, it's when we start thinking we're doing all right is when we start having a problem.
Look, that's what, if you read, I just read Romans last week again, and you read the Apostle Paul, and he talks about the old man and the new man. You know, we have this old man in us, you know, original sin. And he said, the things that I want to do, I don't do. And the things that I don't do, those are the things that I do. So we have this constant battle going on between the old man, the flesh, and the new man, Christ in you, the Spirit of God in you. And it says, and Paul said, oh, who can separate me from this dead body? And you know, in those times, the Romans had a terrible thing. If they got somebody who committed some particularly vile, nasty criminal acts, maybe pedophiles or something like that, they would get a dead body and strap it onto the criminal, and lash the two of them together and leave him to rot with the dead body. And this is what Paul is referring to. Who can separate me from this dead body? The body of flesh, the body with original sin, who makes us do the things and think all the things that we shouldn't be thinking and we shouldn't be doing. But when he comes back, we're going to get a new spiritual body like Jesus Christ. He had a new spiritual body. And remember, in his spiritual body, he ate fish, he ate bread. You know, he said to Thomas, come up and touch me, put your fingers into the holes in my hands. So even though it was a spiritual body, he was still Jesus Christ. So you're still going to be Lisa. I'm still going to be Patrick Heron. You know, except hopefully I'm going to have a full head of hair, a more streamlined physique, and a new hip. And that way I'll be able to ride horses and go skiing and play football and do all the things that I haven't been able to do because I've got a broken hip since I was 15, you know. So, you know, we're going to be people. We're going to be doing things. He said, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until I'm with you in paradise. You know, I'm looking forward to meeting my mother again because she's the greatest cook I ever had, and eating her roast beef and with celery sauce, mashed spuds and potatoes. You know, I think it's going to be great fun. I don't think we're all going to be invisible spiritual entities sitting around clouds all day, bored out of our tree. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, we know that there is fresh food. There's fruit on the trees next to the river of life. We know that. We know that there's fresh air. We know that there's clear water, the river of life. We know that there's vegetation. We know that there are houses and structures. We know that there is clothing and crowns. And spirits don't need those kind of things. That's why I teach people we're going alive and we're coming back alive, and we will rebuild the cities here on the earth. With
as I said to you earlier, Lisa, angels are spirit beings. They're spiritual entities. That's what they are. But when those two guys plus Jehovah went to Abraham, they had a big meal of calf and bread, and they washed it down with fresh milk. And those same two angels, the next day, went into Sodom, and Lot, he had his wife make them another big meal, and they ate it again. So maybe
well, the king did say that he has killed the fatted calf and to bid everyone to the wedding supper.
Absolutely. I bet we're going to have a great meal up there. And as I said, you know, Jesus said, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until I'm with you in paradise. So the poor man hasn't had a drink for 2,000 years. You know, I'm sure he's looking forward to having a nice time, you know.
Yes, that we will it means that we will drink wine in heaven, that we'll drink it with him.
Absolutely.
And
I hope he has Guinness up there too, because I like Guinness.
Well, you know, the Bailey's Irish Cream, I have had that in my coffee, and that's wonderful. You know, I'm part Irish. So
I've just had 2 mugs of coffee with Bailey's Irish Cream in it, Lisa. That's what keeping me going here. Yeah, I think there's something like 60 million Americans who have a little bit of Irish blood in them there. Well, that's, you know, forget about these Frenchmen and your Italians. The real romantic guys are the Irish guys.
There you go. There you go. I'll buy that. I'll buy that. My husband is kind of the same thing as me. He's got Irish blood in him too, and I fell for it. I fell for it. I'm a sucker for an Irishman.
Yeah, well, I mean, God must have a sense of humor, Lisa, allowing me to write these books, because these 2 last books that I've written, there's a lot of new light in there. There's a lot of stuff in here that Hal Lindsey never came up with, or Dwight Pentecost, or Grant Jeffrey, or any of those Tim LaHaye. You know, Tim LaHaye sent me a big long email a couple of years ago, and he started out by saying, Patrick, I have it here, he said, Patrick, I devoured your book in 2 days and feel constrained to say how well written it is and commend you for all your research. Thank you again for your very fine book. Tim LaHaye. And then he went on to write a huge long email to me and asked me all sorts of questions because he didn't know about this stuff either. So, I mean, I'm not even a fantastic student of the Bible, believe it or not, but I'm very good at praying. And when I wake up in the middle of the night, I thank God for opening his word to me and showing me his secrets that I might pass them on to his people. I thank God, you know, when I'm walking down the road, I will do that. So I have a very good prayer life. And
Well, that's what it is as well. I mean, the scripture tells us that the book will be sealed until the time of the end. And so I've noticed as a Bible prophecy teacher myself that more and more wonderful things from the Word of God are being revealed in this day in which we're living in right now, and unsealed that they didn't know 5-10 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. It was closed up. And I think the whole thing about it is about being humble. You know, I said it a few minutes ago, I know I'm a wretch and a sinner. I've no problem with it. I've no problem that when I meet the Lord, he's going to give me a kick in the ass. But then he's going to shake my hand and said, well, you did okay, Patrick, you know, because I got a message from a man just a few weeks ago who said that his father read the Nephilim and the Pyramid of the Apocalypse, this one. And it really messed with his father's head. But as a result of reading the book, he came to faith in Jesus Christ. A lot of people, by reading my books, have come to the Lord Jesus Christ. That's what my books are all designed to do. Now, and it's not me, but I go and I say, Father, I know I'm a sinner. I'm sorry I messed up last night, but, you know, I'm willing to go out and stick my head above the parapet and preach your word. And I speak the Bible to everybody I meet, you know, and I give my books away because I know it's the word in the books that will lead people to salvation. Because I was reading the Gospel of Matthew the night I got saved. So I know the power of the spirit behind the words of life. They're spiritual words, they're words of life. And when people read them, there's something in them that brings them to the point where they come to faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. It's all predestined anyway, they're already chosen. But somebody has to speak to them, somebody has to lead them down that path. And I believe if you, as a prophecy teacher, Lisa, stay humble, go into your closet, pray on your own, thank God for showing you stuff, then he will show you stuff. It doesn't, you know, I don't think God is speaking to the Pope. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, I'm quite certain he's probably not.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's speaking to a lot of these guys who have mega churches either, you know. It's very often, you know, Peter was a fisherman and Mark was a shepherd, you know. So it's about their heart and staying humble and staying meek and then reading the word and allowing God and the Spirit to lead you into all truth. And I can guarantee your listeners out there, if you have people, brothers or sisters or friends, that this book is all about the pyramids and who built the pyramids and Stonehenge and Easter Island and Angkor Wat. People are fascinated by this. And the first part is all about the fallen angels who I believe made these things. We didn't get into that tonight. And then the second half is about the apocalypse and the signs that will precede the apocalypse. And it's a great book for leading people to the Lord Jesus Christ. And then if you really want the meat of the world, then you want this one, you know, Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. And it's novel. There's a lot of stuff There's a lot of stuff we didn't get into tonight that's in this. What the 7 heads are, what the 10 horns are, the Babylon, this great city that the Antichrist is going to reign from, which will blow your mind because it's quite close to home, if you know what I mean. But we're not going to get into that now because it's time up.
Well, you've got us intrigued. We would love to have you back anytime you're willing to come. Thank you so much for your time today and all the information you bring to us. Once more, everyone, I want to tell you about Patrick Heron's books, his newest, The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. He has Apocalypse and the End Times. We have also the Apocalypse Generation and Apocalypse Soon. And he has ebooks. You can get his, go to his website on his Facebook and you will find these things. And it's just thrilling to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. The time went so fast. I can't believe our time's up. But
I know,
you're welcome back
you.
anytime.
Thank you very, Lisa, for having me. And God bless you and God bless your family and your people out there. God bless all your listeners. And please, God, we'll see you all face to face when Jesus comes to gather together his church. God bless and goodbye.
Wonderful. God bless you too, sir. God be with you. Well, that's it for today on Believers Central World Update. We love you so much and thank you for tuning in. And we hope to see you again tomorrow, should the Lord tarry, here, there, or in the air. Bye, guys. I love you.
Today's Christian hit music station is CUBN, Christians United Broadcasting Network.